A little bit different entry and opening than we normally have. Way different entry and opening. Hi everyone! Name's Siegfried, or Steven. Big news came out today, dealing with the OGL. So I figured I wanted to talk about it, because there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of things on the plate. A lot of people might not know all the moving parts and everything that's going on and everything that may be affected, changed. So myself and my friend, Tom, I'll have him introduce himself in a second. We've been in the hobby for way too long, and now we're the old timers in the community trying to bring the young bucks in, and so it's an interesting place to be. To give a little side note for me, I am going to have to be a little restrained in some of my comments due to the fact that I am and openly have produced, and it's down below, so you can see it. I can't hide it. I can't get rid of it. But I am a venture lieutenant for New Jersey for Paizo, and I am also a Catalyst game demo agent for Catalyst Games, which does Shadowrun. And so I have to be very peculiar and set with things I say. And that's the other reason why I want Simdoc in here, is because he's going to be my check and balance, that if I start going down a path that I should not go down, he will hopefully catch me and stop me from saying dumb shit. So, there we go. You there? Hello?
I am here.
There you are. Let me bring you up a little bit. Let me bring this down a little bit. Try talking again so I can make sure you're good.
I'm right here.
All right, good. So I already started introducing you. This is Tom, aka my best friend in the whole wide world, who married another friend of mine, and it's all my fault. Who's also the reason why I wound up getting into the tabletop gaming system. It's technically your fault. You were my first DM.
Yes, I was your gateway drug. I'm willing to admit that.
So, Tom could be a little bit louder. I can bring him up a little bit. There we go. So yeah, so Tom...
Tom is also under NDA to some extent, and
Yeah.
is also a volunteer for Catalyst Game Labs, so he is also going to be polite and not run anybody down for no reason here.
Yeah, so I figure we have to talk about what is the beaten to the ground, the OGL, how important it was, the whole big shebang. The OGL, if I recall, came out in 2000 with 3rd edition, if I recall right.
Thereabouts. I believe it was 99.
Yeah, 99, 2000, somewhere around there. There was basically a movement by Wizards of the Coast at the time to create this license to open up the system to allow companies like Paizo at the time, or I forget some of the other smaller companies that were producing back then, creating third-party products that latched onto and used the Dungeons and Dragons system. And it was great. It was good. It gave birth to companies like Paizo. It gave birth to many companies, like Kobold Press. It also opened up things like people being able to create Roll20, to create Path Builder, all kinds of systems. Everything under the sun is licensed hereinto under the OGL 1.0A. I don't think that was the 1.0. I guess the 1.0 was from 3.0, and then they updated the. Or no, was it just always the 1.0A?
No, it was originally the 1.0. It was then amended to the 1.0A.
Yeah. Okay.
And this was definitely a big deal in the hobby. And it, I mean, Dungeons and Dragons was almost a dead brand back in 2000 when this OGL and the third edition rules came out, and it was kind of a big shot in the arm for the whole industry.
Yeah. I mean, the system was still reeling from the big fiasco that happened with the whole Mind Flare incident.
The satanic panic, the steam tunnels.
If you don't know about the early days of the hobby, basically a lot of people thought that, like, if you got involved with Dungeons and Dragons, you got involved with anything dealing with this, you started worshiping demons, and you were and it didn't help that there was a case where someone wound up killing someone, and during the court case, the kid said he was not guilty because a mind flare told him to do it. And then the question became, what's a mind flare? Oh, in Dungeons and Dragons. And so the hobby took massive hits. In view, I guess is the best way to put it.
In public perception.
Yeah, public perception. There you go. That's a better way to put it.
Referred to as the satanic panic.
Yeah. I mean, to give you an idea, when I was in middle school, I actually went to my my guidance counselor, and we'll just call him Mr. Durillo. You'll know who I'm talking about. That's not his actual name, but if you sound it out and add some different letters, you'll understand it. Mr. Durillo. Mr. Durillo, I went to him, I was like, I want to form a new club. And he's like, all right, what club do you want to make? I want to make a Dungeons and Dragons club. And he went, ah! Oh, his eyes went open. He sent me to the campus counselor to speak to the counselor to make sure I was okay. Because that was right during the midst of the satanic panic was going on. And here I am, like, I wanted to bring it to the campus. And so, lo and behold, it didn't go through. I was able to make the Magic the Gathering club before I could make a freaking Dungeons and Dragons club. And so the OGL was a way to try and open it up and allow third-party publishers, third-party people to create content to try and fix the brand's image, help it survive. I guess is the best way to put it, right?
Well, it was kind of trying to cash in on everybody's desire to kind of have something of their own in the hobby. Like, everybody wanted to make a little piece of it their own, and this kind of it provided a language that we could all speak the same language when we were all creating for our loved hobby here. And that's all the OGL was just a set of language that we could all speak the same language. And it, like I said, it was a big shot in the arm for the industry, and it revitalized D&D and it's, the hobby at large. I mean, there are other role-playing systems that have no ties to D&D that were published under the Open Gaming license because it allowed, instead of having to find a new way to describe rolling a d20 and looking at the number and comparing it to a set difficulty, you didn't have to find a new way to describe that because, at least in the United States, I'm not going to speak for other countries' laws, but
they have an OGL. It's the
rolling the dice.
Yeah, the UK has the Open Government license, which is a little different, but it's basically the same concept.
Yeah, it's you can't copyright rolling a dice, but you
Yeah.
can copy the words around it in the book.
Correct.
And by not copywriting these words, it allowed us all to speak the same language.
And so, to give you an idea, Ryan Dancy was the vice president of Wizards of the Coast when this was all going down. And to quote him during the process of creating the OGL, he basically said, "I think there's a very, very strong business case that can be made for the idea of embracing the idea at the heart of the open source movement and finding a place for all in gaming. One of my fundamental arguments is that by pursuing the open game concept, Wizards can establish a clear policy on what it will and will not allow people to do with its copyrighted materials. Just that alone should spur a huge surge in the independent content creation that will feed the D&D network." This was back in 2000 when they were, or 1999 when they were first starting to spearhead and create the OGL. And that was the whole concept, was one language, it was like, I guess the best way to put it is, it was like the Rosetta Stone. All these systems, Rosetta Stone, they all intermingle. It doesn't matter if you're talking about steampunk. It doesn't matter if you're talking about a fantasy setting. It doesn't matter if you have dragons, don't have dragons, if you are in a magic-less world or with magic. No matter what you attach to it, it would just work. And no matter what table you sat down, if you knew the base, the SRD, the system reference document, you could play at any table that uses the same SRD. And that was the boon of it. Then years later, 2008, so 8 years later, when Dungeons and Dragons started to balloon up again, they tried to close it back down. That's when they released the game system license, the GSL. And basically the GSL was completely incompatible with the OGL, and it became either you're here or you're there, but you can't be both. Is the fundamentals of the difference in the two systems.
There were other differences, and a lot of it was an attempt to bring everything back under their control, and a lot of ways they wanted 4th edition to be as dramatically different from 3rd edition and 3.5 as they could make it.
Yep.
And that was to kind of strengthen their trademark, and they succeeded, and it kind of hurt them in some ways. I'm sure they made some money off of 4th edition, but we're not going to get into edition wars here.
Yeah, we're not. Edition wars. There are some people, like I have a friend that still plays 4th edition, which
I cannot speak ill of it or positively of it, as I have never played it.
Well, that's what I said. It's like I know someone who has.
For me. But if I had tried it, I might have loved it.
Yeah. But the main reason why Tom and myself never got into it was primarily this was the time Paizo wanted to produce content for 4th edition and 3.5. And Wizards of the Coast basically gave him an ultimatum of either you sign the GSL and you only produce content for the 4th edition, or you can continue producing for the 3.5, which is now a dead system that we're not going to produce anything else for. And that's what gave birth to Paizo, giving birth to Pathfinder's main gaming system, which started to balloon because people wanted to continue playing the 3.5. My best friend here will talk about his undeniable love for the system, and what did you quote it as? I cry for all the characters I'll never get a chance to play because there was just so many options.
Yes, that's every time there's a new edition of something, I mourn all of the characters I will never get to play under the prior edition.
And,
Now, that's mostly because people we play with tend to jump to the new hotness and not stick with the prior stuff, and I'm, you know, resistant to change a lot of the time.
mm-hmm.
And it takes me a little while to warm up to things. And
I think that's everyone. I mean, the difference is like it was actually shocking how many people jumped over to second edition when it came out. I think that was the one thing that like everyone was surprised. I like all the forums and everything of all the YouTube videos that I've watched of like people talking about, you know, the OGL and everything. All of them were all surprised with how like the transition rate of people switching over to second edition.
I can be candid about this without violating
Yep.
any of my agreements. I was not a huge fan of the second edition when it play tested.
Well,
I didn't love it.
but you know what? You know what I will give Paizo is at least they playtest. I mean, they, for all their pluses and minuses, whether their playtests are successful or not, and at least they playtest. You know, it gives them some kind of feedback other than just being in the closed room. You know, being inside the echo chamber, so to speak. But we are now getting off subject real quickly. And
No, so the gaming system license in 2008 was basically you could not use both. If your line was going to be published under the gaming system license, you could not also publish under the open gaming license.
mm-hmm.
And the GSL, from my understanding, was a little more restrictive than the OGL, and it led to the birth of the Pathfinder role-playing game was birthed out of this gaming system license.
Yep.
And it probably would not have come to pass if the GSL had not been released.
And so that the GSL and everything was 6 years of the GSL and 4th edition trudging on, which basically had 6 years of Paizo releasing content of a add-on improvement system to 3.5, which is why more and more people drove over to Pathfinder. Even the Critical Role before they were on screen and would, you know, Dungeons and Dragons, even prior to going to screen, they were playing Pathfinder. That's how popular it was. It's how big of a system it became. You know, that like it was like most people were playing Pathfinder that I knew. And so that was that way until 2000, I want to say 14? Was it 14 when 5th edition came out? Let's see here. I got my timeline up here. 2016, January 12th, 2016. So, 7 years ago yesterday, 5th edition was released. Fifth edition released under the OGL. They basically scrapped the GSL and went back to the OGL. And started to try and pump out and regain some of the footing that they had lost.
And they did. They were incredibly successful at that enterprise. They released, for some of its flaws, it's a really good system. I have enjoyed playing it myself. You know, I don't like it as much as I like the Pathfinder stuff. That's just the itch that I need my game to scratch.
Yeah, understandable.
It has nothing to do with the quality of the system. It's a lot of people love it, and I've played it. It's a fun game.
Yep. And that's the whole point. It's easy to. They made the system very easy that any level of player can sit down and play it which is both good and bad. It's good because it means that where, like I was talking at the beginning of the show before I brought you on, Tom. I don't know if you were listening at all. I basically said that you and I have now become, and we talked about this once at Gen Con, where a long time ago, when Tom and I were young, the DMs were like, and the people that were the leads of the community were 60s, 50, 60, 70-year-old dudes, you know, and we were these young, like, 14, 15, 16-year-olds just getting into the hobby. And now years later, you know, years and years and years later, we're now the elders of the community, but we're nowhere near 70, you know? And it's like, and so now we have to bring people in, and that's where, like, one of the pluses of, like, 5th edition and now Pathfinder 2nd edition is it's much easier to bring a new player in. But for someone who's experienced, there's less moving parts for them to move things around if they want to.
Yeah, well, unlike you, I can't say I can tell you I'm closer to 70 than I am to 16 and now at this point. But
I'm 22 years old. I don't know what you're talking about. I am a young streaming and I'm hip. Yes, hip. That's what I'll go with.
It's just a state of mind.
Yes.
But it's like I said, not to speak. The point is not to speak about these various gaming systems. Yeah. Like that could be a whole show of its own.
Oh God, it's just
point in time.
It's just you have to give it because of the whole.
Yep. We can.
These are all things the OGL has touched.
We can compare our RPG bingo cards another day.
And so through 5th edition coming out, and then eventually like shows like Critical Role came out and pumped up numbers, the hobby has seen more people playing now than it has seen probably ever. Is it safe to say that?
Absolutely, and it's way more mainstream popularity. It's not a bunch of, you know, socially inept people playing in their basement or their mom's basement. That's the old stereotype. It's celebrity voice actors.
They even had a whole television show, Stranger Things, that literally like had the kids playing Dungeons and Dragons episode 1. You know?
Absolutely.
And so, like, when you start seeing things like that, it's like, oh, well, shit. And so, like, it gets people into, well, I want to try it. I want to do it. I want to play it. You know? These voice actors are doing it. I want to do it, you know? And so, because of the OGL, it allowed companies like Cobalt Press, what's some of the other ones?
Genius Games, Paizo Publishing, what is it?
Rogue Genius Games, Roll for Combat, Legendary Games, Green Ronin, Cobalt Press, just to name a couple, just to name a handful of companies have grown and built a business and helped foster this community. So as much as 5th edition through the OGL has allowed these companies to create and make, these companies have helped create the content to keep the people involved. Because let's be honest, if I released 3 books and you read all 3 books, you'd want a 4th book, right? But if I don't release a 4th book, you're probably going to go somewhere else. Or you're going to get, you're going to move on. But now if you start adding, we'll use like anything. Like now if you say, all right, well, we have 6 authors that can write storylines that are in this universe. Sure, they're not going to be attached to each other and they might follow completely different paths. But now you have all these other publishers that are creating books that you can now read and enjoy that are in this scenario that you enjoy, It's no longer in one person's hands or one company's hand to create everything. And that's the plus. That's the big plus of the OGL, is it allows a lot of people to have their hands in it to be able to create, to grow, and to build.
And it wasn't just the books. It was the virtual tabletops.
Mm-hmm.
It was the podcasts. It was the YouTube channels. It's all of the Kickstarters that are out there, because we can all speak the same language.
Yep. To give you an idea, where's it at? So Path Builder is a company that is It's one guy, and he created a character sheet program. And the character sheet program, let's go to desktop. I should be able to. Oh, I'm so big. Look at me. I'm gigantic. Why am I gigantic? Need to shrink me down. Even Path Builder is under the OGL. Because it has to follow these, certain rules. Now, they follow all these other licenses that they have from on the Pathfinder books. But for the most part, it's all under the OGL 1.0A. So, where's that lead us to today? Today, I mean like in the last several weeks, not just like today. Leaks have started to come out about WotC once again wanting to change up the OGL. And the leaks that were coming out were not good. They were...
Well, to go back to the beginning, they have been playtesting and publicizing their new edition to come out, 1D&D.
Yeah, 1D&D.
There were rumors that the parent company was upset at the lack of monetization of the brand. We have no insider information. There's no insider baseball going on here. This is all rumors from various articles on the internet.
Yep.
Maybe Sig can post some of his sources at some point, but
and a lot of the websites are getting slammed right now because of the big news that came out today. So
this is true. This is why I can't research anything right now.
Yeah.
But
thankfully, I was his good friend and copied what I had and sent it over to him.
So there was an alleged leak of information about the text of the new open gaming license, which in the version I saw, which was the leaked version, which I'm going to lay out there, it's not officially, it has not been confirmed by any parties. It's a significant amount of the community believes it to be true and is acting on it as if it were true, but nobody official from
have you seen the have you seen the actual one?
It hasn't been officially released. It was supposed to be officially released last Friday.
Battlezoo has it.
Battlezoo has the leaked copy.
Well, the one version, yeah.
Yes.
The one that
officially,
yeah.
It has not been officially confirmed yet, so we're gonna lay that out there right now.
Yep.
Everybody believes it to be true, but it is not official. We can't say it's official because they haven't said it's official.
Yeah, according to Battlezoo, gotta make sure this is worded this way. So according to Battlezoo, from all of their sources they spoke to, and we don't know who their sources are because they're not naming them for obvious reasons, because I'm assuming whoever they're speaking to is probably under NDA hell. Whoever they're speaking to said that what they got was the new and improved and better 1.1. And so this is what Battlezoo released. And basically they released it to the internet. And what was once a 2-page document is now ballooned up to a 15-page document that also has 3 different versions of licenses that attach to you, depending on how much you make, is basically what it comes down to.
Now, the most important thing to lay out there, even under this new 1.1, this leaked 1.1, it would still not stop you from making things up to play games with your friends.
Correct.
That is never been the issue.
Yeah. So the big key is when it comes down to is the section of basically anyone who's making over $50,000 a year. Anyone making over $50,000 a year has to report that income to Wizards of the Coast. And that anyone who's making over $750,000 a year has to pay a 25% royalty to Wizards of the Coast starting January 1st, 2024. And the way it's worded, and one of the things that has people even more concerned, is that this number can be changed at any point. So it might be $75,000 for 2024, and then the next year they go, well, $700,000, and then the next year $600,000, and just slowly step it down because that's how it's worded that they can do it. The one thing that they did, they confirmed one of their people that they spoke to was with Kickstarter, because Kickstarter has a side deal with them that basically if you kickstart your product under the 1.1 and you use Kickstarter because it's a preferred royalty preferred.
Kickstarter is the preferred crowdfunding platform.
Yeah,
and this would include crowdfunding income, and it's not even just your gross income. It's if you earn above that threshold, whatever that threshold may be at the time where you make the Kickstarter. So if you earn more than that in pledges and you never produce your game and never make a penny on it, you are still responsible for paying a portion of those gross revenues to Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah. So to make it easy, because I like making math easy. Let's say you made a really good book, with a really good setting and the whole 9 yards. You replace it under the 1.1 and you raise $1 million, right? First things first is WotC wants 25% of it, of the million. This is before Kickstarter takes their fees. This is before Kickstarter takes their processing fees. This is before everything. They want $1 million right there. So the $1 million, they want $250,000. So you're now down to $750,000. Then you have to pay Kickstarter a 5% fee for using Kickstarter. So the 5% fee is flat. And so it's 5% of the $1 million. So that would be, what, 50,000? Right? I'm doing the math right?
So we're already down to $700,000.
You're down to $700,000. You've just lost $300,000. And then there's a payment processing fee per pledge. So everyone that pledges, there's a 3% processing fee per pledge. And so if someone pledges, let's say $1,000, 3% of that, $30 of it, goes to Kickstarter also. Again, this all adds up. And so very quickly, a company that might have been able to succeed and create a product is now whittled down to, by the time you're done with all your fees and everything, and you have to pay artists, you have to pay everything, you might not have any money left over to print, by the time everything is paid out, which will severely cripple and kill a lot of the companies. And that's why a lot of people were worried about the announcement of the 1.1. But here's the fees for Kickstarters. And they have it based on, each country has different fees and what it cost. But it's pretty much the same across the board, that it's the 5% plus a 3% per pledge. You know, so let's be honest, at the end of the day it's basically 8%. Right? About 8%. So if we're just doing the quick maths, before you even start funding, buying artists, paying for authors, paying for the publisher, paying for everything, you're already down 650. You're down to 650,000 of your million. Done. Gone. You know, and that's the biggest issue, is a lot of people started to freak out. So there's been a lot of talk about what is people going to do. Paizo has been quiet until today. We'll get to Paizo because they're the last shot fired, or the most recent shot fired, I should say. There's been a call by a lot of the people in the community, asking for Critical Role, because let's be honest, Critical Role is probably the one part of the hobby that is moving the most amount of money. It is a money printer. Critical Role is, between the YouTube, between their merch sales, between Tal'Dorei, between everything. It is a money printing device. And so a lot of people have been looking to Critical Role, wondering what's going to happen. You know, are they gonna, you know, sign with the 1.1? Are they going to go their own separate way? Are they gonna switch systems? Have they already started to remove Dungeons and Dragons from everything? Like, one of the examples would be in the new animated show, a whole character has been removed. One whole character was removed and a storyline changed, just because it mentions something that is a IP of Wizards of the Coast. So that character in that area has completely been removed. So there's a lot of questions up in the air. So that leads to, what was it, 2 days ago? 3 days ago? January 10th. 3 days ago now at this point. Kobold Press. Kobold Press released a big announcement, basically saying that they are starting what they call Project Black Flag. Project Black Flag is basically their own system that they're going to release with their own SRD, and they were just to give you the thing. I'll just read it because it's easier. I don't want to misquote them. Can't get in trouble if I read a document they put out, right? To our fellow kobolds, Kobold Press has always been committed to the open gaming and tabletop community. Our goal is to continue creating the best material for players and game masters alike. This means Kobold Press will release its current Kickstarter project as planned, including campaign builder, cities and towns, already printed and on its way to backers this winter. In particular, Deep Magic Volume 2 will remain fully compatible with 5e rules. We will continue with our VTT program to maintain support for digital platforms. As we are looking ahead, it becomes even more important for our actions to represent our values. While we wait to see the future holds, we are moving with a clear eye and working new core fantasy tabletop rule set. Available open and subscription free for those who love it. Codename Project Black Flag. All kobolds look forward to continued evaluation of the tabletop gaming. We aim to play our part in making the game better for everyone. Rest assured, Kobold Press intends to maintain a strong presence in the tabletop RPG community. We are not going anywhere. To receive further announcements and register for the playtest, this new core rule set, you can sign up via this forum, and you can join their official Discord. So that was the first, the first major press organization that made an announcement. You know what they were going to do with this new information about, or all this leaked information about the 1.1.
Yes, a lot of us have been waiting to see what was going to be said, and I think a lot of the industry was also waiting to see what what Wizards of the Coast was going to say. Like,
because this
we
is
let it be known that we were not happy, and what were they going to do?
Now this is the point. Hasbro or Wizards of the Coast should look at the countless videos and articles that are like, what the f*** are you doing? To quote people, not me. You know, and go, you know what? No, we were thinking about it, but you guys are right. Here's the 1.0A. You know, we're 1.0A is here to stay. We're not gonna do anything. But they haven't said anything, one way or the other. I don't think they have.
No, there have been no official announcements. The 1.1, based on the leaked copy, was supposed to be released on January 6th and go into effect on January 13th.
And there has been nothing. Absolutely, positively nothing. Twitter has been exploding. YouTube exploding, and there has been no, and I'm sure that over at Wizards of the Coast they are playing damage control. They realize that they are behind and have to play catch up now. I mean, to the fact that there is people have found a PhD thesis paper, which is 350 some odd pages long, which talks about the OGL and whether it can be revoked or can't be revoked. And he had to defend his thesis under the OGL because he wanted to do it on the OGL because it was something that he felt was important and that no one ever really covered in a scholarly way. And so he did. And so there was a lot of trepidation about a lot of people, like me and Tom were talking back and forth for the last week or so, 3 weeks or so, you know, like, what the hell is going to happen? What's going to happen to Path Builder? Because technically what was leaked on the OGL 1.1 basically says what is, what's going to happen to Path Builder? What's going to happen to Roll20? Because the 1.1's leak basically says, no, you can't do that. You have to go to one of our official programs or sites.
Yes, unless you're producing a print product or a static digital file, so an ebook or a PDF, you were restricted.
Yep. And so that was one of the big, like, myself included, because like, here's a lot of people, a lot of jobs are on the line now. A lot of people's livelihood, the whole hobby is on the line for.
There were people who built their careers, built their companies based on language that sounded like this license was going to be available in perpetuity.
Yep. And I will not try to pretend to be a lawyer. I will not try to pretend to understand intellectual IP laws. I will not attempt to do any of that. That is not my foray. I'm not going to do it. There are tons and tons of videos and people out there that are lawyers that have spoke about this. And so if you want to dig through all the law stuff, feel free. And like
to plug a couple of the ones I've personally watched with no financial or other ties to them.
Yeah, I'll give mine
the
also.
The Rules Lawyer on YouTube.
Yep, Rules Lawyer's one.
And
Roll for Combat. Roll for Combat is another
one I would mention.
Rules Lawyer, Roll for Combat. I mentioned him earlier, the one that that released the leak. Battle Zoo. Battle Zoo's YouTube. He's pretty good. Those are the three main ones I would definitely look up. They have gone into extreme lengths about the law. They've spoke with lawyers. They've gotten intellectual property lawyers involved. Well more than I will ever be able to do on my own.
And they've spoken to Ryan Dancy in person.
Yep, they spoke to Ryan Dancy. They've talked to. There's a list of people that they spoke to. And as you're going to find out in a second, there's another group of people that are involved also. And another example would be like David Wilson. David Wilson is the one who created Path Builder. Dude lost his job in the pandemic and created a character creation program that was so awesome and gave it out to everyone for free and said, you know what, if you want, you can give me a little bit of money if you like, but it's free to use. Dude, I threw money at that man because yeah, dude's awesome, you know? David Wilson built this on his own, and it would not exist without the OGL. It'd be gone. You know, I'd be stuck with nothing. I guess paper and pencil we'll go back to. We'll go back to the old paper and pencil. Blank PDFs. Fill in the blank PDF. And so today, Paizo released an announcement, and it was earth-shattering. And so it started with a tweet, and the tweet links to their main site. And so their tweet is, there we go. I can just bring it right up on screen. Here we go. We've announced a plan for a system of neutral open RPG license in collaboration with our other game companies. We believe it will be irrevocable and unquestionably keep alive the spirit of the open game license. Learn more here. Unfortunately, shit's broken. Their website is getting hammered right now because there are so many people talking about this response from Paizo. Like, so many people. So I will just I'm sorry, Tom, I'm going to be reading what you've already read. So Paizo announces the system neutral open RPG license. For the last several weeks, as news of Wizards of the Coast's new version of the OGL began circulating among publishers and on the social media, gamers across the world have begun asking what Paizo plans to do in the light of Wizards' intentions to deauthorize the existing OGL 1.0a. We have been awaiting further information, hoping that Wizards of the Coast, Hasbro, would realize for more than 20 years the OGL has been mutually beneficial license which should not and cannot be revoked. We believe that this interpretation of the OGL 1.0 and 1.0a were intended to be revocable or able to be deauthorized is incorrect, and with good reason. We were there. Paizo owner Lisa Stevens and Paizo's president Jim Butler were leaders of the Dungeons & Dragons team at Wizards at that time. Brian Lewis, co-founder of Azora Law, the intellectual property law firm that Paizo uses, was an attorney at Wizards who came up with the legal framework for the OGL itself. Paizo has also worked very close with the OGL-related issues with Ryan Dancy, the visionary who conceived the OGL in the first place. Paizo does not believe the OGL 1.0a can be deauthorized ever. We will be prepared to argue that point in court of law if it needs be, but we don't want it to have to do that. We know that many of our fellow publishers are not in the position to do so. We have no interest whatsoever in Wizards' new OGL. Instead, we plan that we believe an irrevocable and unquestionable keep alive the spirit of the open games license. As Paizo has evolved, the parts of the OGL that we have ourselves valued have changed. We needed it to quickly bring out Pathfinder First Edition to continue publishing our popular monthly adventures back in 2008. Using Wizards language was important as expeditious. But in our non-RPG products, including our Pathfinder Tales novels, the Pathfinder Adventure card game, and others, we shifted our focus away from D&D tropes to lean harder into the ideas from our own writers. By the time we went to work in the Pathfinder 2nd Edition, Wizards of the Coast, open game content was significantly less important to us, and so our designers and developers wrote the new edition without using Wizards' copyright expressions of any of the game mechanics. While we still publish under the OGL, the reason was no longer to allow Paizo to use Wizards' expressions, but to allow other companies to use our own expressions. We believe, as we always have, that the open gaming means gaming makes games better, improves profitability for all involved, and enriches the community of gamers who participate in this amazing hobby. And so, we invite gamers from around the world to join us as we begin our next great chapter of open gaming as we release a new, open, perpetual, irrevocable, open RPG creative license, the ORC. The new Open RPG Creative License, ORC, will be built system agnostically in an independent game publishing under the legal guidance of Azoria Law, an intellectual property law firm that represents Paizo and several other game publishers. Paizo will pay for this legal work. We invite game publishers worldwide to join us in the support of the system agnostic laws that will allow all games to provide their own unique open rule reference document that open up their individual game systems to the world. To join the effort and provide feedback on the drafts of the license, please sign up using this form. In addition to Paizo, Kobold Press, Chaosium, Legendary Games, and a growing list of publishers have already agreed to participate in the Open RPG Creative License, and in the coming days, we hope to expect an additional more people to the group. Oh, my tongue is tired. The ORC will be the ORC, and this is the important part of the whole thing. The ORC will not be owned by Paizo, nor will it be owned by any company who makes money publishing RPGs. Azoria Law's ownership of the process and stewardship should provide a safe harbor against any company being bought, sold, or change management in the future attempting to rescind the rights or nullify sections of the license. Ultimately, we plan to find a nonprofit with a history of open source values to own this license, such as the Linux Foundation. Of course, Paizo plans to continue publishing Pathfinder and Starfinder even as we move away from the Open Games license. Since months' worth of products are still in the printer, you'll see the familiar OGL 1.0A in the back of our products for a while yet. While the Open RPG Creative License is being finalized, we'll be printing Pathfinder and Starfinder products without any license, and we'll add the finished license to those products when the new license is complete. We hope that you will continue to support Paizo and other game publishers in this difficult time for the entire hobby. You can do your part by supporting the many companies that have provided content under the OGL. Support Pathfinder and Starfinder by visiting your local game store, subscribing to Pathfinder and Starfinder, or taking advantage of the discount code Open Gaming during our checkout of 25% off your purchase for the Core Rulebook Pocket Edition, or the Pathfinder box beginner box. Support Kobold Press, Green Ronin, Legendary Games, Roll for Combat, Rogue Genius Games, or any other publisher working to preserve a prosperous future of open gaming that both is perpetual and irrevocable. We'll be there at your side, and you can count on us not to go back on our word. Forever, Paizo Incorporated. Like, holy shit!
That was a big salvo. They said right out at the beginning, we were waiting for Wizards of the Coast to make their announcement.
Yeah.
We're done waiting.
Yeah, that's...
And, we are throwing our doors open. come inside. We're going to shelter you.
And the fact that like they are purposefully giving the license to someone that is not a company, because like that's the whole point of this. Is when Wizards of the Coast came up with the 1.0A, they were not owned by Hasbro at the time. They're now owned by Hasbro. And when leadership changes, so does viewpoints. So does how are we going to make money on our product, And they want to make sure that this new open gaming license, the ORC, they want to make sure that ORC can't be tampered with, that it will be solidified. And that's huge. It's huge if it works out the way that they're trying to make it work out. And so I for the first time in several weeks, I'm hopeful. Because now at this point, you have the last two answers that are left. WotC, what are you doing? Because the ball has been like Salvo, they nuked the court with that. What are you going to do with it? But again, then there's the question of Critical Role. What is Critical Role going to do? What are they going to do in this? Because they're going to have an effect. One way or another, they're going to have an effect. I want to believe that Critical Role is going to do what's right, but I also won't be surprised if they have already signed an agreement before any of this came out that they're all stuck with.
So they're either consulting with their lawyers before making a statement, which is understandable.
Yep.
Or they are waiting for WotC's position to become official before making a statement, which is also commendable and understandable and the right thing to do. Or they're under contract and they're under NDA and they're not allowed to speak on it until it's officially announced, which is also understandable.
I just saw this on Twitter and I have to share it. It's actually really funny. It's someone posting is my next character, and they used Path Builder to build this character, the mobile version, and it's Paizo, the level 1 champion. Its deity is Saren Ray, and its edited notes: Paizo is a liberator, a hero who roams against the oppressors and liars who takes advantage of other people. He was a pilgrim in a distant land, taught in the ways of truth, never forgetting his orcish ferocity. So there you go. Paizo the champion. And that's if Paizo ever wanted to have the mantle of good guy Paizo, that Salvo was it. But again, there's still so many ways that this could all play out at the end of the day. I'm still interested to see what WotC says. That's the key is what is WotC's what is WotC gonna do? My God, it's still down. I just checked Paizo again, and it's still down. Oh, so I'm interested. I'm interested to see what the orc has in it. Because instead of it being the OGL, which is here's an SRD and the SRD is attached to the OGL, it sounds more like the orc is an open license that you can then attach to your own SRD and use. Which it sounds like what Paizo has already done with second edition, which I'm guessing I didn't even know this. If second edition is not even like attached to the SRD anymore, which I don't think it is. Because the way that sounded, it sounds like they're no longer attached to the, again, this is guessing based off of what I read. It sounds like they've already detached themselves from the SRD.
It seems that way, yes.
And so if they're already detached from the SRD, then it's just easy enough for them to unclip the 1.0A and clip their own thing in then. I'm interested to see how it's going to be worded. Now the fact that they're they named Linux. The fact that they named Linux is the actual real interesting part, because Linux has been known to be an open source operating system for, God, probably longer than the OGL. When did Linux come to birth? 1991. So yeah. So Linux has been open source longer than the OGL has existed. And so it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see if the people over at Linux actually takes this up under their mantle. You know? I think it'd be cool. Is there anything else that we missed?
Don't believe so.
I don't think so. So what all right, so now that you have the Paizo announcement, hopes and fears, where are you at?
So I was never concerned about Paizo as a company. I think the fact that the 1.0A license had endured for 20 years without challenge likely have some significant weight in court. And Paizo has lawyers, and Paizo has fans who are willing to donate money to their cause, or they could have put up some kind of a PDF sale to generate revenue for a legal battle. I was worried about the smaller companies, the Kobold Presses, the Kickstarter kids. Those are the people I was worried about.
Yeah.
There's a history to when WotC has done this. We talked about it. WotC did this once in the past. WotC Wizards of the Coast. And there were certain repercussions from it. I
think the part that kills me the most about the OGL 1.1, assuming the multi-page document that was released by Battle Zoo is correct, right? Like, let's say that was the actual one that they were gonna be releasing. Not saying they are or not, but let's say that was the official, right? That document is far from anything about. There is nothing open about that document. The only thing.
Still saying you can use it. You're still saying you can use all these terms.
Yeah, you can. Just pay us a shitload of money. Oh, wait. And then my favorite portion was we get to use your IPs without paying you. Which I would hate to see them trying to defend that in court. I would really hate to see them try and defend that in court if that's an actual thing.
My fear was that any of the bigger markets, bigger companies, the bigger IPs were going to go to court, and there would be some kind of settlement, and of course the settlement would come with NDAs, and the only press release you would see is Paizo Publishing signs on to Wizards of the Coast OGL 1.1 after lengthy court battle, and they would never say what agreements were made between the two parties.
Yep.
Because they don't have to, and they would be NDA'd. And all the world would see is that everybody's falling in line.
Now, one of the things that they posted, is one of the movements is the movement. It's called Open RPG. Basically, any of the YouTube videos, any of the publishers that are behind this like Open RPG movement, basically attached this hexagonal picture and just says Open RPG on it, and like quite literally, today when they made their big announcement, Paizo made their big announcement, first thing that went up was that picture with the Open RPG on it. Like literally, first thing that went up. I said I'm hopeful, because if this is done right, then officially everyone is unleashed from WotC at that point. Unless they want to use WotC's SRD. At that point you can choose whatever system you want and attach it to it. Assuming that system doesn't have its own rules. Like I'm assuming you can't just take the orc and slap it onto Shadowrun, because Shadowrun has its own.
Well, so the original OGL was applied to D20 systems, to Fate, to Fudge, to D6 systems. It wasn't a matter of trying to. It wasn't It wasn't licensing the D20 system as it was. It was licensing a language. It was using the same terms.
Yeah.
Using the term difficulty class,
armor class.
Yeah, these things that allowed, like I said, everyone to be speaking the same language.
As of 3 hours ago, Paizo posted, "You wonderful people. The website is currently acting screwy. Not sure why that might be. Winky face. So please be patient. We have more things to announce." So it sounds like they have more things that they're going to be pumping out. So, holy shit. Like I figured that was their one salvo and done for now, but it sounds like they have more things that they want to pump out. So we'll see. I mean, I said the ball's in WotC's court right now. But at this point, it might be too late. Like even if they were like to say OGL 1.0A is not going to be changed, we're going to keep it. You already have this new orc being designed. The orc is being designed. It's literally going to that's the damage might have already been done.
It's possible.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I never want to see a business fail. I don't want to see anything fail, because anytime a business fails, people lose their jobs. And I don't want anyone to lose their jobs, Like I said, it's gonna be an interesting next couple of days to see.
I don't want to comprehend what the world looks like where the Dungeons and Dragons brand does not exist.
No.
It's
at the end of the day, Dungeons and Dragons is, for better or for worst, depending on how you look at it, our childhood.
Exactly.
And we have watched many things from our childhood die. And Dungeons and Dragons is the one thing that's still around. And to see it fail would be like heartbreaking. Even though, like, let's say Paizo's still around, still making Pathfinder, you know, and most of the tables I sit at are Pathfinder games, most, you know, Paizo games. I still don't want to see Dungeons and Dragons go away, because that's like, you know, like, that's like home, you know. I might not live at home right now, but every once in a while I do want to look back at my home. It's nice, you know. I guess is the best way to put it, you know. It's those memories of earlier days of walking down the highway to the game store with, you know, like, the 4 dudes, you know, to go roll some dice, you know. You had to walk longer than us.
Yeah, I did, but so like I said, I don't want to see a world where it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And having said that, it's a little more hopeful now.
Yeah, well, that's what I said, is like the new.
And like I said, I want to put the further caveat out there. This is still an unofficial leak. It's not been confirmed.
Yep.
And
well, you figure to some degree, even if it's not exact, right? To some degree, some part of it has to be true, because if it wasn't, WotC would have came out immediately and said, "This is bullshit." You know, the fact that they've been like system quiet is where it's like, is why, like, anytime a company goes system quiet, they're in damage control mode. And I hope the best for them. I want them to succeed. But they're in a rough spot now.
They absolutely are.
It's up to them. It is 100% up to them. You know?
Yes, they have to say something, and the longer it goes, the worse they look.
Yep. Like going on the Paizo, like right now I'm on the Paizo Twitter, and I was just scrolling through, and it's like person after person, and the hash to give you an idea of how much damage is out there. One of the hashtags that are trending right now is D&D be gone. And it's people going onto their account and discontinuing their D&D Beyond subscription. And it's like just pages and pages and pages and pages and pages of people just... And as I said, like, as I said, the longer they take to respond to this, the worse it's going to be. They need to come out and say something. You know?
I would love to hear them say something. Anything.
Yeah.
Like
the fact that D&D Be Gone is trending on Twitter right now is like, holy shit. You know? And they're now with Paizo and that Salvo, they have to. Because now at this point, it's deafening. The more they don't talk is the more deafening it is.
Yes, the silence is deafening.
You know. You know how people have been making the fake accounts? The on Twitter, people make the fake accounts and pose themselves as being the real company. So someone made a fake Wizards of the Coast Twitter, and it basically says, "We will revert the OGL 1.1 to 1.0A if you all stop reminding people that Critical Role started as a Pathfinder game." Didn't I mention that earlier? Those are the two things. Right now, those are the two things. The first one being, when will Wizards of the Coast say anything? And the second one is, when will Critical Role say anything?
I am not holding my breath waiting for Critical Role to say anything.
Yeah, because again, they might be under contract. They might already have a contract that they're stuck with, and they're talking to lawyers like, what do we do? Who is texting me at Dark30?
I don't know. Who is texting you at Dark30?
So,
must be one of the millions.
Yeah, one of the millions. And millions. So I'm as I said, for the first time in weeks, I'm hopeful. I really am.
Okay, looking in chat here, Erica has a comment. In my opinion, even if WotC rescinds this, the trust is gone now.
Yep.
Yeah, it's probably not unsalvageable at this point, but they need to say something.
Yeah. Damn it.
The longer they go, the more people don't trust them.
It's like the...
And the longer they go, the more likely we're not going to get an answer.
It's like the rotten apple in the bushel, you know? If I have a whole, like truck full of apples, and I take one rotten apple and I throw it in there, right? The longer you wait to get that rotten apple out, the longer that rot will spread to the other apples. And so it's like, the longer, Wizards of the Coast takes to respond to this, as you said, they might just not. They might not respond to this.
Important to understand, they don't owe us an answer. We want an answer, but they don't owe us an answer.
I mean, what is it? We 100% feel like we deserve an answer. Like, I won't lie. I feel like I deserve an answer. I have supported Wizards of the Coast. I have supported Paizo. I have supported Kobold Press. I have supported so many different companies in this hobby. So yes, do I feel like I deserve an answer? Yes. Will I get an answer? Who knows? Deserving one and required one? No, not required. But like, what I mean? Like, I deserve one, but it doesn't mean that like they owe me one.
I want an answer. I want an answer. We all want an answer. And their Twitter posts saying that, we understand that everybody is concerned. Please be patient. Nobody's patient right now.
Yeah.
And they know we're not being patient. They are spinning, and they're probably trying to figure out a way to get what they want for their shareholders in a way that lets them save a little bit of face. And I feel like if this were a false document, this is pure personal opinion, we would have had an immediate denial.
Well, that's what I said earlier. Like, if this was false, it would have been immediately out. Like, no, this is not true. We would never do this. Like, yada yada yada. But like, even their, Like it's so, I don't know. They it's on, it's the ball's in their court. Ball's 100% in their court right now.
They need to come up with some kind of an answer.
Yeah, so yeah, D&D Beyond posted 3 days ago. We know you have questions about the OGL, and we'll be sharing more soon. Thank you for your patience. So this was 3 days ago. And they are literally... have they been... Well, I could tell you right now that they've been ratioed. I don't know if you know... You're an old timer.
I have no idea what that means.
Ratioed basically is the original tweet has so much responses, and then the number one tweet underneath it has more engagement than the initial tweet. It's called being ratioed. It means that like what you said, no one cares about, or no one believes you, or anything like that. It's called being ratioed. And so, like, quite literally, D&D Beyond released their tweet. They're straight up ratioed. Like, straight up ratioed by 2 separate tweets. One which is from someone who is pushing out the... Basically, they tweeted with, post the whole thing, official copy right now, transparency is the best path. It's an open license, share it now as we all sit here if you have nothing to hide. Everyone needs to know where you stand. It's been several weeks now. What are you waiting for? And then the second one that ratioed them was basically the post of the hashtag OpenDND movement.
Mm-hmm.
So that's D&D Beyond. Like I wanted to see if they've tweeted anything. I mean, they're tweeting about their movie that's coming out soon.
I'm sure it will do amazingly well.
I don't know. Do you? All right. Let's play devil's advocate here. With everything that's going on, you think it'll do worse than it would have done had this not been going on? Like, do you think that this whole OGL thing is going to have an effect at all on their box office if the movie was released tomorrow? Like, it's not released for a while now. I think it's not until what, February? You know better than me.
I don't know. I don't
know
when the release.
Okay, so March 31st, right? So there's still plenty of time for them to damage control before the movie comes out. But let's say the movie was coming out tomorrow, right? Tomorrow is the big release day. It's Friday. Releasing. Would it have had an effect on their box market, if you had to guess?
I think that it will have an effect on their box office. What that effect is going to be, I don't know.
Okay.
Because there's no such thing as bad press, kind of a deal.
Well, there's bad press, and then there's really bad press. You could still have like bad press that is so bad that you still can't survive it. It's the bad press that you survive that becomes good press. It's just Wizards of the Coast is a large enough company that they'll survive this. I mean, how much did they make last year? I think. How much did Wizards? Well, I can tell you what they made in 2021. They haven't released their 2022 yet. But they made $1 billion in revenue in 2021. So I'm sure they could take a hit.
They absolutely can take a hit. But hopefully they won't have to. Hopefully this is going to be some backpedaling on their part.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they take a little PR hit, and then maybe one D&D. I keep wanting to call it D&D 1, but
Yeah.
one D&D is going to be a fabulous system. It's going to be even better than 5th edition.
Well, I forget. It was Battle Zoo. Battle Zoo was the one that said it's like what they need to do if they really wanted to do this right, like, you know, make the 1.1 come out and make people do it, is release a system that is so awesome, so amazing, that people switch to it no matter what it is, because it is so good. And that's the big thing that's missing, is you need to release a system that is so good that people switch to it. And that's where their mess up was originally, was like a lot of people didn't take the 4th edition back in the day, you know, and stayed with the 3.5, you know, because they just, for one reason or another, it didn't click with people, you know. They need D&D 1 to be such an amazing system that people are willingly able to, or willingly, you know, switch over to that system, you know. Whether or not they'll get there is beyond me. And I think the fact that they're trying to make D&D 1 and 5th edition backwards compatible is, I think, kind of hampering them to a degree. Because had they released, you know, 6th edition, let's just say they're releasing 6th edition, right? And they made 6th edition so amazing that people switched to it, then it'd be an easier pill for people to swallow at that point. But the fact that they're trying to do this backwards compatible, attach it to it thing, which is like where people are saying that they're trying to do the gacha 1.1 attaches in because it's backwards compatible and it grabs the 5th edition through it, you know. Oh, I said I don't want to see Wizards take a giant hit. I don't hate Wizards. I don't despise them, because if they take a giant hit, then that's going to cost people jobs. People that have been creating and building and making stuff for this hobby to exist will lose their jobs. And I don't want that. I don't want anyone to lose their jobs over such a misstep like this. You know. But
I don't think any of us want people to lose their jobs.
Well, can't speak for everyone. I'm sure there's people out there that are like, I want them all to be, you know, I will never
Okay, that's a fair point, but people losing their job right now is not going to help me in the least.
Yep. It's not going to make me feel better. Not at all. But I will say, out of that whole document that Paizo released, the line that hit me the hardest was the "we were there." Because they were.
Yes, that was
the line. That was literally the line to frickin' in Lord of the Rings. I was there 3,000 years ago when the folly of man failed. You know, like that literally was like that line right there. Was like, we were there.
No, the big analogy I keep seeing people drawing is the Aslan from The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Don't quote to me the deep magic.
Yep. I can see both of those could easily be applied to it. You know? So I said, for the first time in several weeks, I'm hopeful. I really am. For the first time in several weeks, I'm hopeful. And who would have thought it would come in via tweet and then message on a website. You know, who would have thought? Hey, you know what? Paizo stepping up to the bat again. What? 17 years later, 16 years later, something like that. What was it? 4th edition was 2008, so 15 years ago. 15 years later. So, any other things you want to bring up?
Nope, I think I'm about done.
Yeah, I think we've covered everything we need to cover on this announcement. I'll probably keep an eye on the board if Wizards ever makes an announcement, or if any other big salvos, like Paizo's saying that like they're gonna have more to come. So I'll keep an eye on that. So if as it develops, I'll probably visit this again at some point, and hit the ground rolling, you know. But yeah. So once again, my name's Steve / Siegfried, Venture Lieutenant for Paizo, and my brain is locked. Catalyst Game demo agent, and the guy joining me is Tom, friend of mine, also Catalyst Game demo agent, and we've been playing for way too long. So we want to thank you for your time that you were here with us.
It's been 30 years for me.
Yeah.
30 years.
Has it really been?
No, it's been more.
I was about to say, that would make it 30 years would be 93.
My first in my gamer bingo card red box. D&D red box.
D&D red box. There you go.
Let's go back and see when D&D red box was.
A starter set for Dungeons and Dragons. $1981. I don't think you were born yet.
I was born, but that's not when I played.
Well, you know what I mean.
I think I was probably 85-ish. I started playing.
So 85. So you're almost up to the 40-year mark. You know what? In 12 more years, I'm gonna have to get you like a golden D20 or something like that. Like a gold-plated D20.
Oh, I don't know. You never know. I might grow out of it by then.
Sure. You know what? You'll grow out of it as fast as I will grow out of it. The hobby will die before you and I grow out of this system, or grow out of freaking tabletop RPGing. Let's be honest. Let's be 100% honest with ourselves. The like tabletop RPGing will turn to like, oh, we do all this shit in VR now, and you'll be like, this shit's too hard. I can't do this. This VR with my glasses, I can't do it. I can't do it. Meanwhile,
I've never done VR gaming before.
Meanwhile, I'll be the guy that like buys the running track system and like the whole giant rig and everything, and be like, this is great, I love it. And then have a heart attack on the system because I'm running like a lunatic. Steve, you're too fat. But yeah, so
It's my favorite hobby. I enjoy it. I am not quitting it.
I will not even call it a guilty pleasure, because it's not guilty. It is a pleasure, but it is not guilty.
Nope, not at all.
So, but as always, as I always say whenever I have one of these things, if you have any questions about the hobby, if you have any questions about, like, let's say you've seen an episode of Critical Role, or you've seen an episode of Dimension 20, or you've seen an episode of any of the podcasty gaming things, and you were like, man, I wish I could do that, feel free to reach out to me, ask me, send messages on my Discord. I will aim you at all the ways of things that you can get involved in the system, because as I said at the beginning of this, a long time ago, some older gentleman got me into this game. And now I am the elder of the community. Tom is the elder of the community. And it is our job to make sure that we make sure that the hobby continues to grow, so that way we continue to have tables to play at. That's the biggest thing. So if you have any questions, whether it's Pathfinder, Shadowrun, Dungeons and Dragons, feel free to reach out to me. And I will do everything in my power to answer any questions you have. If not, I can get you the right direction where you at least you need to go. But thank you so much for your time, Tom. It's been appreciative, as always.
No problem.
And
good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone. And I'm gonna head on out. We're gonna do another strange out. Normally I do a whole scrolling thing, but I think I'm just gonna end it here. And again, thank you guys for your time and your understanding. Big news tonight with the whole Paizo thing, so it's gonna be an interesting time to come. All right, everyone. Good night, everyone. Button.